So, but it's been good, and we started teaching kindergarten, and now we're starting to teach 5th and 6th grade, and for a while there it took me a little time to figure out how to study, or a study habit that would work for me, but I finally found one 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm really excited about it, and it's interesting because all this has happened since I've been here, and I've learned more in the time that I've been here, basically because of Janet, that I don't think I ever would have learned staying the same route I was going before.
So you started out, let me see if I can summarize. You started out trying to get an A in physics, and you ended up with a wife, a church home, and you're a Christian, something like that. I left out a lot of the middle, but that's...
Yeah, a lot of the middle, but yeah, basically.
That's great.
I owe a lot of where I am now probably to Janet.
Sure.
So she's my stabling rock, basically. Mm-hmm. I'm way too optimistic, and she knocks me down a couple of levels.
Which means I'm pessimistic.
That's the A in physics, that's the B in physics, right? No. Yeah, that's great.
She introduces me to reality.
Let me ask you something about Weldon, since that's who you mentioned. And I realize it's been some time, but do you recall at the time thinking that it was more about the right answers that he gave you, or was it more about kind of the way he answered? And I heard some things you said a minute ago that made me kind of want to ask that, but or was, I mean, it's hard to separate probably.
Well, at the time it was it was his answers, because there was certain things I believe, and I still believe them pretty much today, that somehow deep inside I knew were right. I don't know how, but they just felt right. And the way he was answering them didn't seem to violate any of those beliefs, you know.
Okay.
Well, but one of the questions he had was, why in the world do you go to church on Sunday night and Wednesday night? You've been on Sunday morning, and growing up Methodist, that's all he'd ever done. And I had grown up in a very legalistic, no, you went to church Sunday morning, then you went to church Sunday night, and you went to church Wednesday night. If it's bad outside, you still went to church, and you figured out how you were getting home afterward. And you know, I came from such a legalistic view that it was kind of hindering. But he said, why would you do that? And I said, well, you're supposed to. And Weldon said, we do it because we want to. And John went, okay, I can do that. I'm like, that's all I had to tell you? We want to?
Yeah, the supposed to didn't vibe with me. I'm like,
yeah,
that I don't see that in the Bible. But the want to satisfied the answer, but at the time I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to want to go 3 times a week because I just wasn't used to that. But now, I mean, yeah, I want to go because of what, you know, you may learn that day, or who you're going to talk to, and all this other stuff, or, oh, I need to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so. And a lot of the things that I was thinking about before now is like, well, they were all true, what they were telling me. I just didn't give it a chance at the time. But, so it was interesting.
Very good. Janet, anything else you would like to add there? Anything he's misspoken on, or not?
Never.
Anything you would add to kind of y'all's story of how you ended up here, or the impact that different folks had on you, the Johnsons or Weldon or just the church, or I don't know, anything you
I don't know. Growing up in a very legalistic church, I had been of the mindset that if I couldn't do things perfectly, if I couldn't be at church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, that I wasn't going to go to heaven anyway. And so, you know, I had never committed myself because I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I'd never been baptized. And I went to college knowing that I was going to be studying all the time. And I didn't know how I was going to be able to go to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And if I couldn't do that, it wasn't happening anyway, so just don't do it. And so that's why I had held off. And then when we'd gotten married, it had been more of, we went to a church or two, didn't fit in, didn't like it, and we'd just stay home then. Of course, we had the Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night issue anyway, so.
Gotcha.
And then we moved to Hattiesburg and tried a church there. And once again, I was getting a master's degree and I was studying all the time and didn't feel like I could commit. And he was gone most of the time working. And so then when we came here, it was like, you know, we need to do this and we need to settle these questions and get these answers. And I had not realized how hindered I had been. And when he had finally said, okay, you know, I understand now, I know why we're doing this, and the Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night thing is fine. You know, I was like, okay, we can do this. And so then we were both baptized, which floored Weldon. He thought I was a Christian already. And he was, what? You're both? Yeah. And so we did it and everything. And in the years since then, I've learned that, you know, I was never supposed to do all that. It's through His grace, not through anything I could ever have done, whether I was there Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, or whatever. It didn't matter. And even though I grew up in that family they were constantly there, and I really respected, you know, my grandmother and my parents and all that, and my dad was a deacon and everything, I missed it. And it's just, those are years that I can't replace and that I kind of feel guilty about, but I know more now than ever before. And this church, you know, knowing Sandra and Tommy and the group that so graciously let us in and become part of their clique and everything, it was just great. And I'd hate to think of leaving it, but that's what's kept us here and kept us wanting to learn more.
Well said. Well said. Well, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for two things. One, thanks for teaching our children. I know you've taught many of our kids in the kids department for how long have you been teaching kindergarten?
All I know is I've taught 1 year less than she has. Past that, I don't even know how long.
Well, we were expecting with Megan, so she's going to be 8. So we've been in the kindergarten class at least 9 years.
Okay.
9 years.
I was thinking you've had both of my boys at this point.
Yeah.
Josh in there now. But thank you for teaching them. And number 2, thanks for sharing your story, a little bit about you. And I think the same offer would probably stand. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if anybody ever wanted to talk to you all about a situation that might parallel theirs or something in life that, you know, where, hey, it's just good to have a family that, hey, I can talk to them. I think they'll understand. I think John and Janet would be glad to visit with you. And if not, their cell phones are. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway,
Her cell phone.
her cell phone.
He refuses to get one.
Oh, that's an issue for another interview. So.